All right, welcome to the second night of our budget hearings. I would say do the same procedure we had the last time. We will start with Finance Committee member questions, and then we'll open the questioning up to the other council members that are here tonight. So let's start on tab 4, page 8, covering the controller's budget first here. And once again, we will start with any questions from the Finance Committee.
Mrs. Hoffmaster, could you tell me how many are staffed within your department? Well, controller, correct?
Yep.
Controller. Oh.
Including myself, 6.
And out of the 6, you are the controller. You have a administrative assistant and a second assistant controller,
Correct.
and an assistant controller.
Correct.
So, could you briefly give me a description of what each one of those 4 do?
Certainly. The administrative assistant maintains our databases for billings, takes money at the window. She receipts in the money that, or checks or money that comes through the mail, does all the credit card processing, maintains the inventory database and the cash drawer. She prepares all of the licenses, permits, and passes that people request. She enters data for the workers' compensation and medical trusts into accounts payable. And she assists the Central Services Department with the fuel, the gasoline and diesel fuel. She does the mailings for the miscellaneous billings. She assists the Attorney's Office and Vector Control with the billings for the mowing violations. And then she performs just a variety of other clerical support
Okay.
that in the office.
Mr. President, just a point of order. Is it okay if this table is moved forward so
Yeah,
that
we
it's
can
on
turn it in an
Yvonne's
angle.
eyes?
Angle.
Yeah.
If you
Or
turn it
angle it or
like
what
that,
have
like
you,
right
just so
here.
that sun gets out of her eyes. You know, it
can
may
move over here.
look a little silly on
angle.
TV sitting there with a hand in front of your face when
Yeah.
you're trying to talk.
No, let me come up, just let me sit right here. Right here will be good.
Okay.
The second assistant controller, the main function is reconciling our 53 bank accounts, reviews the monthly budgetary statuses, prepares journal entries for posting, accounts for the fixed assets purchases and dispositions, reviews the accounting policies and procedures ensuring proper internal controls are in place, maintains the chart of accounts. She's our main training person for our financial software. Like I said before, she manages the capital purchases. She reviews all of the invoices submitted from the CDBG and HUD grants. And she assists in the preparation of our financial reports and with the audit. And she's also the backup for the payroll clerk and the assistant controller. The assistant controller manages our general ledger, does all of the postings through the general ledger. She manages 139 funds. She processes all of our EFT payments and reviews and approves all of the purchase orders that are run through the financial system. She monitors all of the deposits to the bank account through EFT and prepares the cash receipts. She reviews the department's budgets. She reviews the bank recs. She helps prepare the additional appropriations and prepares transfers as needed. maintains and prepares all of the grant files, does all of the grant draws, and does all of the quarterly reports for all of our grants. And she assists me in preparing the annual report and preparing for the audit.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the Finance Committee? Okay, I have a couple. Office supplies and other office supplies, line item 421005. Last year budgeted about 6,700, but I'm not really going back to 2020 actual. I'm looking at 2019 because that was a full year with you guys being in the office and everything like that. So we're going up now to about 6,000. Go ahead.
Correct. The majority of this money is spent basically on toner cartridges. The magnetic toner cartridges that we print all of our checks with are about $400 a piece. We have several printers in our office that assist with printing. We print all of the direct deposit forms for the payroll. We print reports as needed throughout our office. And then it covers other miscellaneous office supplies. The year end, it pays for the tax forms, the W-2 forms, the 1099 forms, all of the envelopes that we need to mail those all out with.
But
For line item 439.091, I see it was in the red for $678 for other services and charges, education. And it's being proposed for $2,256. What type of education training or is this referred to?
Okay, well, the first off, that's not in the red. This is one of the anomalies we found when I was running this report. We have something posted incorrectly to this line item.
Okay.
And it probably belongs up in our travel line item because we had paid to go to training for our software this year and it was all canceled and they refunded the money. So when we put it back to the line item, I believe, I haven't had a chance to look at this yet. But the training is basically for registrations and for different classes, mainly through our software, the State Board of Accounts, and the DLGF. Oh, I wouldn't.
So will that be rectified?
Right, it'll say 0. If you look at it, probably next week, it'll say 0 being spent this year because all of our training this year has been canceled. But we budget for this because we've invested over $500,000 in our financial software, so it's extremely important that we keep up to date with it, that we can go to the trainings and learn how to more efficiently and better use all of the components of our software.
And with that being said, then the other two controllers, assistant controller and the second assistant controller, are all cross-trained?
That is correct. And for the most part, all three of us won't go at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
any other questions from the Finance Committee? Yes, Councilman Paul Preslinski.
Thank you, Councilman Dabney. I was looking at the report and under item 439090 for 2019 you had $23,812 and then last year we had, or this year, there's nothing in there and nothing projected out. So, under that line item, is that for a financial consultant?
Yes,
It was. And we discontinued that service, correct?
correct.
Okay, and, was it, who was that financial consultant? I can't,
I believe in the past they used Sender and Associates.
Sender, okay, Sender and Sender? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, open it up to the other council members in attendance.
Hey, Yvonne, a question about office supplies, and not how it pertains to your office, but how it pertains to the city overall. Now, every department has office supplies, and everybody buys office supplies. But, I mean, do we buy them all from one vendor? Or do different departments just go out and buy whatever they want to buy from office supply vendors? And my point that I'm getting at is if that's the case, to me, that's the wrong way to do the business for office supplies. The city should have one contractor for office supplies that we can get the best price on, whether it's a pencil, whether it's a staple, whatever it is. We should have one contractor that we order from, and we're getting the best price. Because right now, I don't think, if that case is people are just buying at random, I don't think we're getting the best price. And we could be saving money by doing that.
I know in the past, we had an agreement, I believe it was with like Office Depot, and it was like a national program, and we got pencils and stuff for like fractions of pennies. I'm not sure if that program is still in use, because I know in the past, it wasn't mandatory that the departments use that. But that is definitely something that I would like to look into again to make sure we have a program in place, because that's going to save us money across the board for all of our office supplies.
I would like to see that also, and I would like to see that, and when it comes time for, to vote on the budget, I'm going to try to put that into some type of amendment or what have you, that the city does that, and we follow through and check it out, and if that's the best way to go, then that's the way we're going to go. For me to vote on the budget. Whether we can save $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 by doing something, that's what we're trying to do here. And just one more question. This is another general question. As far as, because I haven't heard anything as far as health insurance goes for the city employees, is the premium the same as it was last year, or did the premium go up at all? Because I haven't heard anything about health insurance since the beginning of the year. I know that there was a meeting, but the council wasn't invited, but I'm just wondering what we're doing with health insurance.
Well, we're not going to raise the premium for the employees for next year. We did raise the COBRA and retiree rates by 5%. But other than that, the program is basically going to stay the same.
Yeah, my question is, did the general insurance raise their rates to the city? Are we paying more for insurance for next year? For health insurance to the employees? Are we paying more to general insurance next year?
I haven't seen the contract for next year yet. They probably won't do that October-ish, maybe. That they're our agent of record. So that'll be going before the Board of Works probably. I think they do it November, December.
Okay. Well, I guess if you could, and get back to the Finance Committee and the council members, if you could call them tomorrow and find out if there's going to be a rate increase for the city. I would, because hopefully that's going to be built into this budget that we're dealing with right now.
Right, that's built into our budgeted cost of $17,000 per employee. That the fees from the agent of record, that is built into that fee that or the budgeted amount. We budget $17,000 per employee, which comes out to right around $6 million a year.
Okay. Well, we don't know if that's going to be more or not. The 6 million, we don't know if the 6 million is going to be an increase or not.
Right.
You may have 17,000 built in for every employee. I understand that. But the premium still may be higher than what we're thinking. And we need to know exactly what they're going to be charging us for health insurance next year before we, pay out to the Board of Works, or we ratify this budget. 'Cause
Okay, I will.
If it's too much, I don't know, maybe we need to look at another carrier. If they increase it by $2 million or $1 million.
Right, well, yeah, it's
maybe
not
we
going
need
to
look
them,
at
it would go to UMR, is our TPA. UMR is our third-party administrator.
Yeah.
That's where the bulk of the fees go to.
Okay,
They're the ones that manage all of our claims.
yeah. Okay.
So I
just
will
don't know where we
call.
stand with
Yep.
health insurance. 'Cause
I will
haven't
call
heard
them
a word-
tomorrow.
I haven't heard a word about it yet.
Yep, I will
Thank
call
you.
them tomorrow.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the city council? Go ahead.
If I can go back to line item 439.091 for contractual services, and Mrs. Hoffmaster, you indicated that the CPA that we had was used to be sender and sender. We currently have no CPA?
Well, we haven't, right, we have no contract with anybody at this time. That is correct.
Any more questions from either the finance committee?
Sean does.
Just a comment, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
Well, rumor had it, or I heard that we may be going with Applegate. Did we go with Applegate?
We have consulted with him this year, yes.
But is he our consultant?
He gave us some advice on an issue. That's all we needed. So
Okay.
we didn't sign like an annual contract or anything like that, so.
Okay.
Are there any more questions regarding the controller's budget? Okay. I need a motion to approve controller's budget as presented.
So moved.
Need a second?
Motion.
I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay. And I'm only saying nay for the simple fact, if I'm looking at a proposed budget, it would be nice to actually see what numbers we're working at when, and I'm referring back to line item 439.091. If that shouldn't be there, then it would have been nice to have had that presented at this time.
Okay, we'll correct that and bring you a corrected page tomorrow.
I appreciate
It'll say 0 tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, we'll just roll into the next budget. City clerk. Are there any, I haven't heard any representatives from the city clerk, but I didn't get a chance to look at email today either. Does anybody represent city clerk?
I can try and answer anything you would have.
Okay. Any questions from the finance committee? Maybe, are they supposed to be here tonight?
Yes, according to the schedule.
And let's move off of the clerk, let's go to the mayor's budget first, and then we'll come back, see if they arrive.
I don't think anyone from the clerk's office was coming.
Okay.
He said we're gonna go to the,
That's the next page, page 10. And you go backtrack through the clerks. Tab 4, page 10, mayor's budget. We'll start with questions from the city, from the finance committee.
yeah, I got a question on this, actual amount and, for 2020 and then the adopted budget. So then we go to,
What line item?
411-013, salaries and wages at the very top of the page. And, if we're talking about not giving any raises, then how did the amount increase $28,000?
Mayor, I can answer that.
Okay, well,
We moved the special events planner from the Board of Works budget to the mayor's budget since this person is under the mayor. So it was just a lateral move within the general fund. So when we do the Board of Works budget, you'll see that number went down drastically by the amount that this one went up. And there's also one less position in the mayor's office.
well, if you moved the events coordinator, I think it would have been more than 28,000 or 27,000, and it shouldn't have been about 50,000 increase, so that would have been around 200,000 in there.
Yeah, the changes, we did not budget for an executive secretary in the mayor's office. So that was roughly $30-some thousand.
Okay.
So that's not in there, and then we
So-
added the 54, so the difference between the two is roughly $28,000,
So you
$30,000.
moved those positions, right, around?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
So Mrs. Hoffmaster, so the position that you said is no longer, is eliminated, is that the executive assistant?
Yeah, yes,
But-
is that what it's called? The executive
But-
secretary? It's just not, it still exists, it's just not being budgeted. So it's in the salary order, but it's not being budgeted for 2021.
But then can you come back then and fill that position?
If we come to the council for an additional appropriation. Okay.
We're not, what happened was we restructured jobs. The last administration had 2 administrative assistants. One was a very highly paid position that was associated, given to a friend. Second one was much lower than the ability of the person. It was just basically someone to answer the phone. When I came into office, I hired 2 administrators, Mr. Yelsky and Ms. Buechner. Ms. Buechner, very shortly after coming in, she's from the school system, very educated, very talented, very knowledgeable. I removed the promised scholarship director from her position, and Ms. Buechner took that over. So before we did the budget, I eliminated the amount of money that Ms. Buechner was making initially as just an administrator, which was substantially less than a promised scholarship position. Now, Ms. Buechner is handling 2 different jobs. She's doing the job of the administrator, which is all of my correspondence, all of my scheduling, a lot of the paperwork, plus she has taken the promised scholarship over and fully administers that alone. So that's why you've got, that's why the lower wage went away. It will not be refilled.
The executive assistant.
The executive assistant will not be refilled.
Well, with that being said, shouldn't it be categorized as administrator slash promise scholarship? So it's at least clear what's going on in the budget, and it's still under your control. So I think that's, where did you guys shift it to?
The Promise Scholarship Director is paid from the Promise Scholarship Fund.
Well,
So that's not paid from the general fund.
well,
But when you look at the salary order, that position is listed under the mayor, but we're not budgeting it in the general fund. It's budgeted under the Promise Scholarship Fund.
yes, okay.
What
It's
you
still,
see right here on this page is Mr. Yagelski's salary.
Correct.
Ms. Buettner's salary is listed under the Promise Scholarship Director.
What page is that?
Well,
There's two
I-
positions.
129,
I
tab
can-
4, tab 5, I'm sorry.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is that if she's working in your office, then it should be listed as so, because that money is coming out of the Promise Scholarship Program, which is riverboat money, and we need to, I think it still should be accounted in the mayor's budget, so that's all I'm getting at. I'm not gonna argue about or discuss. I just think it should be there, so it makes it more easier for people to understand, what that person is doing, and you're mixing, how you're mixing the money here, okay? Because she was getting paid out of, was she getting paid out of the scholarship fund before? Or was it coming out of the general fund this year?
The Promise Scholarship Director has always been paid from the Promise Scholarship Fund.
Okay,
Currently, Janet is doing all of that work for the pay of an executive assistant, which is like $16 an hour. That's all she's currently being paid.
okay.
So nobody is being paid from the Promise Scholarship Fund for the rest of this year. We can put that
Okay,
in there
that's-
with a note that it's being funded someplace else.
Okay, that's what I
If
just
that'll
asked.
be easier for you, if it makes it, easier to understand.
We just don't want to cause any confusion either, because if we do city administrator slash Promise Scholarship, you see that there on the mayor's page, and then you see under the Promise Scholarship Fund, what do we have? 2 Promise Scholarship administrators? We're
No.
trying to avoid confusion too.
No, I think it should be accounted for how it's,
It's been-
what the person's doing in the pay. All right, and the other administrators before were they being paid? They were being paid out of general fund, and I think that you should. Then you either pay her half out of the general fund and you pay her out of the Promise Scholarship. So you keep it, if she's working in your office
Okay.
and doing these things that you just said, and you just said, Yvonne just said that she wasn't being paid, but then said that she was being paid out of Promise Scholarship, so,
No,
You know-
I said the position is budgeted in the Promise Scholarship.
okay.
I didn't say she
All
She
was,
won't be paid this until 2021.
2021.
The remainder of 2020, she's being paid the $16 an hour administrator rate.
which is in the 2020 budget.
But then for 2021, she's going to be paid out of the Promise Scholarship, and she's
Yes.
going to be doing the duties of the Promise Scholarship along with the executive secretary, but she's going to be making about $16 an hour in that one position while she's covering 2 positions. Did I just clear that up?
No.
Now?
Can I ask? Okay, so
I thought I had that.
technically right now, she's being underpaid for what she's doing.
Correct.
How does that work?
Because the mayor did not,
Not upset with it. She's not upset with it. She understands what we're doing. When I removed Nancy Smith from the staff, somebody had to pick that up. Janet picked it up, and within 8 weeks, he had it all in order. So I don't want to move backwards. She's agreed that for the remainder of 2020, she will be paid at the rate she started, and effective 2021, that money, that $16 an hour will go back to the general fund, and she will be paid out of the promised scholarship, that amount. She has no issue. There's no coercion there, no issue.
Well, I mean, maybe, I suggest we do like a proclamation or something for above and beyond the call of duty for that act. I mean, she can wait till next year to get her compensation. I think that's commendable.
Yes, we were very grateful that she agreed to do that.
I think I got it now. I think I got it. Any other questions from the Finance Committee or the City Council? I need a motion to pass the mayor budget as presented.
Mr. President? Yeah, I didn't get a chance to ask any questions. I didn't know
Yeah.
the council was asking questions. Or-
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, so with this new job, is there a job description been put together by the personnel director? And, I mean, the city council hasn't seen anything. Generally, when there's a new job and it's filled and there's a job position, it usually comes in front of the city council. I mean, that's the way we've done it in the past.
But there is no new job.
Well, yes, there is. She's an administrative assistant / promise scholarship.
Well, we will be updating that job description, because that's what we're in the process of doing right now, is updating all of the job descriptions to present to the Board of Works for their approval.
Okay, my point is, before someone takes a job, we always get a new job position for the council to take a look at before it's approved.
Right, but the Promise Scholarship Director's been around for about 3 or 4 years.
I understand that. My point is, it's a new position. Executive secretary plus this other job being added on.
Right, well, we're going to amend the job description.
Yeah, and she may not be doing the exact same thing as the other Promise Scholarship Director was doing, because I'm sure she's not, because she's certainly not making the money that the other one did, because the other one was probably overpaid to begin with when that whole program started. Okay. Next question is, how was the $45,000 decided on? That's what she would be paid? Because that's what her salary is, I believe. That's what Yvonne told me. That was going to be her new salary. Because currently she's making $16 an hour, which is $33,000, and it's going up to $45,000. So I just want to know the criteria that was used and who decided that that amount was going to be paid.
Yep.
All right, we're going to stay on the mayor's budget, that's in the Promise Scholarships budget.
Well, it's still coming out, I know it, but it's still coming out of the mayor's office. Or if we want to wait till we get to the Promise Scholarship, we can do it then.
I do,
Okay,
because
I just want to know what the
she's going to
criteria.
be paid out of the Promise Scholarship budget next year. And that's what we're looking at, this 2021 budget.
I guess the question, and one of the questions is the $16 an hour, the $33,000, is all that coming out of the Promise Scholarship money? Her whole salary will be coming out of the Promise Scholarship?
Correct.
Or is that $33,000 still coming out of the general fund and the $12,000 coming out of the Promise Scholarship fund?
No, the
To make
entire amount,
$45,000.
the entire amount will come out of the Promise Scholarship next year.
Okay,
Okay.
then we move on.
Any other questions? I think I put a motion on the table to approve the mayor's budget as presented. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second? No second?
Second.
So that's a second?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't hear you. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Now, let's just take the clerk's budget one page back. They don't have representation at the meeting tonight. But let's go ahead and handle that budget.
Mr. Chair, is representation required? Because I know we went through the engineer and the attorneys, and there were no representatives.
Yeah, there's no I was just wondering if they were showing up. I didn't know.
Okay.
I wasn't notified. I was noted that the attorney wouldn't be here and that Yvonne would handle it for her. So that's why I just went ahead with no questions there, but I did not hear from the clerk's office. Did they tell someone else that they weren't going to be in attendance?
No.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to clerk's budget. Any questions from the finance committee? Because I did want to ask the job duties in the clerk's office, but they're not allowed to answer, they're not around to answer that, so I'll just move down. Once again, office supplies, 2,850. In the city, the finance committee taking a peek at that, so I don't have anybody that can speak back for them, so just wondered if you guys had questions about that line item. If not,
Which line item?
421005, 421005, office supplies and other office supplies.
Oh, okay.
005.
I have a question regarding line item 413.017. In 2020, it was budgeted for $3,105, and so far $9,732.16, but for the proposed budget of 2021, only $2,715. Was something added back into the
413017.
No, that was a longtime employee left that department. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Last year, the council voted to back pay the clerk for vacation bonuses for all of the years she did not receive them. So that's the majority of that money is, and it posted in January.
But yet it was 2019, but it didn't get.
Well, it was actually going back to like 2010. So it was like 9 years worth, I believe, something. The council passed it at the end of the year, but it didn't get paid until January of this year.
Oh, thank you. Just in general, I wanted to know, does the department heads and/or elected receive vacation buybacks?
No. No, not vacation sellback.
And no department heads that are entitled to that?
No salaried exempt employee is entitled to that. So that would include department heads and some deputies.
Any other questions from the finance committee?
Yeah, I have a question on the office supplies, and I was wondering if, how are you dividing up the monies for mailing things out of the clerk's office? Is that going to be handled by the clerk, or is that going to be handled through your office as we got into this issue this year with making the council members come to City Hall when the City Hall was supposed to be closed? And I wondered if I don't see a real increase in that money. Is there a problem with increasing that money to handle her mailings out of that office?
She doesn't pay for them. The postage the postage machine is in my office, and the budget for it is in the Board of Public Works and Safety. Because everybody throughout the city uses the postage machine in my office.
Okay. But you have some type of accounting of how much is going out, right? Because evidently that, you have it listed in the budget here, so there must be some way you track it. And I understand you got a mail machine. My thing is that it was difficult for some people. I didn't understand what was going on here because City Hall was supposed to be closed. And then we were required to come to City Hall to get our mailings. And I think that was totally ridiculous. And that I think that you need to up that money for the mailings and for office supplies.
Yeah, but it's not in office supplies. It's under postage in the Board of Public Works and Safety. We do that budget
Oh, all right.
tomorrow or Wednesday.
Well, okay, well, here's what I'm getting at then. Why don't you have a line item for postage in that department, or in every department? And since you guys went to this accounting system years ago, that so they can keep track of what they're posting out of there. Or are you telling me then that the street department doesn't have any postage? Or
They bring their mail to City Hall and we post it. And we take it to the mailbox every day.
okay, but they're not accounted for it. But then you guys got the authority to cut them off, so you're not mailing that. That's what I'm getting at here, because that's what happened this year. So what you're doing is putting a line item and saying, no, you're not sending out this mail for whatever reasons.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's not what happened, Mr. Przybylski. So,
Well, here's what I
Tamika
will
was the one
say.
handling this for me.
Here's
so
my point. Here's my point. I don't know what really happened, but I know it was a pain to go up to City Hall with my work schedule and going and getting mail out of there when I'm not supposed to be in there. And, okay.
City Hall-
I think it wasn't right, and I think that
City
it
Hall
should be
was-
rectified.
City Hall was locked down only to the public. You're not the public, you're a councilman. You have a key, don't you? Are you given a key to City Hall?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, but I will tell you this, when you have an incident at City Hall,
All right.
I don't want you coming there.
I'm going to call
Thank
order, and we're going to stick to the budget. Anybody have any questions about the budget for the clerk? As I just wanted to know, I have a question on line item 439091 with other service and charges of education. We've had no expenses, no budgeted amounts back to 2018, and now we're going with 2,700. Do they plan on travel? Anybody know?
I I inquired about that as well, and
What'd they tell you?
it was conveyed to me that the clerk is wanting to have her own retainer for attorney.
But that's not
That's
education.
not education.
It says other services
Oh,
and
that's
charges
just
education.
that's the classification of the account. So if you look and see, all three of them that begin with 439, the classification of
Oh,
account
yes.
is other services and charges. One is subscriptions, one is other contractual services, and one is education. So the line that Councilman Dabney had inquired or about was education.
Then that would then actually fall under contractual services then, or should.
Well, a legal attorney should follow under legal. She did not submit a line item to us for legal.
But could
That
that
would
not
be-
fall under contractual services? No different than a CPA?
I guess,
There's no line item
I guess
for CPA.
technically it could, but I believe that's where she pays for her codification that they do with the ordinances and things that are uploaded to the Muni Code. That's what that's what that line item is used for.
Am I allowed to make a motion for those funds to be put in, part of that, put into contraction?
That, if the clerk wished to do that, she could request a transfer after the budget has been approved next year.
And you said that she budgeted $2,700 to their own attorney. Why wouldn't we use city attorneys?
If
But,
you
That's
have,
what I'm trying to figure out here.
the council has an attorney, the mayor, meaning the administration has an attorney. I believe the clerk should have her own attorney. If there's a conflict between the city and the council and the clerk's in the middle of it, who does she have to represent?
She has a city attorney. City attorney services her too.
Point
By
of
state
order.
statute, only clerk treasurers in class 3 cities. Only clerk treasurers in class 3 cities have an attorney.
So
Not in
if-
class 2 cities.
So if
We're a
the
class
clerk,
2 city.
the clerk has an issue that she isn't confident getting advice from the corporate counsel, she has no recourse?
Communication, that's about it. I don't understand why she would have.
I don't either. I mean, the same reason the council has an attorney
Well, we all
aside from the
We all have problems
corporate.
communicating once in a while.
But we have
And he said-
ordinances drawn up, so that's why we have a attorney, council attorney. Any other questions from the finance committee? Yes.
This is a point that I believe how we got to this point is the clerk was told that she would do certain things, and by state statute, the clerk's office is a separate office. And I think that's, that's the problem why the money is being requested, and I think that we should respect that the clerk is an independent office. She's in that position, she's her own boss. I believe that by state statute clarifies that issue. And I believe that there was something going on here.
Do you have
And that
the
we
state
need,
statute that you're referring to?
Do I have it?
I'd like to read it.
I do not have it right on me, but I'll
Please do.
get it for you. All right,
Please do.
in our next
Thank you.
hearing, okay? And I believe that if our attorney was here, that it would be clarified that the Class 2 city, that clerk's office is an independent office. Thank you.
Any other questions? Open it up to the city council members.
Question, going back to the mailings. Okay, since the majority of the mail I get comes out of the clerk's office. And Tamika, since Yvonne said that you're in charge of the postal meter.
I'm not in charge of.
Okay, well, however you getting your hands on the mail, you know. So what exactly happened that we couldn't get our mail mailed back to our homes like I have for the past 9 years, and all of a sudden it was stopped? And not only, and if I could mention this, you know, not only does Councilman Przybylski work shift work, but Councilman Mack, he works crazier hours than Councilman Przybylski. And these people, and these gentlemen, and I don't know if there's any other council members that work shift work, I don't think so, but sometimes it's hard to get up to City Hall and get your mail before a meeting. And that needs to be taken into consideration to these elected officials that sit on the council, that if we want our mail mailed to our homes, we should have that right as elected officials, because that's city business. That's business that we have to make decisions on at the upcoming council meetings. And if we don't get that information promptly, then that doesn't give us time to follow up and study the issues that our constituents want us to make decisions on. So if I could get an explanation.
Councilman Przybylski,
Yes, ma'am.
the question wasn't about whether we would not mail your mail. The question was why I was getting 6, 7 letters per council person per day. We were having emails printed out and then put in an envelope to be mailed to you, to the council members. I asked, if you're going to have so many things going in one day to each council person, can we just put them all, get one big envelope? And as you know, stuff goes, so we're not mailing 36 envelopes a day. We might mail 9 envelopes with all of the correspondence that you needed to get. But the question was, if you're receiving the emails and then you're turning around and printing the emails, was it excessive? Some of the council members were fine getting just emails. I know Councilman Paul Przybylski, ain't a friend to email, and we respect that. So we really didn't have a problem either way, but it was just excessive. And I believe since March, the mailings started to go up. We would see emails. We would email you, or Yvonne would send out emails, and then those emails were then being printed and put in the mail. So I questioned that. I believe that when you requested the insurance information, all of the insurance stuff, there was going to be I think the file was probably 136 pages. And I believe that's when the email went out asking you guys to pick that up, because it was that was when that came out, and it was a problem. But I didn't think that, can I finish? I didn't think that printing the emails and mailing the emails was very cost effective. And I think that that's how all of that came about. But we mail every envelope that goes out of City Hall goes through our office. So even the fire department, when they get their mailings together, they come over, drop them off. We process all of that stuff. So if there was a way to kind of, cut some of that down, that's what we saw. And the increase that came specifically from the clerk's office, because prior to this year, and I've been here about 5 years, we weren't copying or printing emails and then putting them in the snail mail. And if that has changed, that's fine. We need to know that. And I agree, maybe the budget should be increased for postage, but that's how that whole situation came about. And then it became what it is now. But we do whatever we can to accommodate every office, postage and everything else.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from any other council members? So what's the recommendation for this budget? Because myself, with charges and education with $2,700, I would cut the $2,700, but we wanted to wait and see if things could be moved into another line item. So I don't want to take action until we find out what's happening, or say anything like that until we find out what's going on. So we need clarification from the city clerk, so we can just get these numbers straight before we we make a recommendation to pass as is.
This is how we're submitting the budget. This is how it was submitted to us. So if the clerk wishes to move a line item around, that will have to happen next year
In the
after the
transfer.
budget is approved.
Now answer this question for me. Could they create a new line item? And I know the answer to this, and then transfer funds.
That's what, yes, they can, that is allowable.
Yes, okay. So do we have any recommendations for the clerk's budget?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Need a second?
Can I amend his motion?
He would have to amend his own motion.
Can I amend?
He would have to amend his own motion.
To make the motion to adopt, but to put in there for the clerk to create a line item so that the funds can be transferred into.
Oh, okay.
For council.
Okay.
They-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to adopt with the understanding that 3439-091 will be amended in next year's budget to, or create a line item? No?
No,
The line item can be created.
By
the line
then.
item will be created when the clerk requests a transfer into it.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
So you
Okay.
can't do that
now.
now.
It happens upon
It has to
transfer.
wait until after this has all been adopted.
Okay. I make my motion to adopt.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, aye. Next budget, council department, is page 11. Any questions from the finance committee? I have a question in regards to line item 432030, communication and transportation travel expense for 4,500. I know that breaks out. Who uses the travel? I know we had $500 in that was spent in 2020. And no expenditures of 19 and 18.
So let me hit on that, man. So I did, because I'm not in the computing systems or have access to the database or software used to submit this, I did ask the clerk to put a request in as far as what we wanted to add for the council budget. And this was basically for, one, being able to allow communications from the council to the public. See, this is how we had the issue before where we weren't getting our correspondence for whatever reason. That was also in addition to making it available for the rest of the council to have education funds for additional training, so we could be the most effective as individual council people. So that's the only thing I can think this is reflective of. This is not the amount I submitted, so I don't know what happened with that, but now that I know that we can do it after it's adopted, we'll probably do it then.
Do you remember the dollar amount that you?
So it was $500 per council person. And then the other was for the original that I requested through the clerk on my behalf was $1,000 per council person for training, and I want to say
45,000 for
Correct.
advertising.
Right, for
It was under
correspondence,
advertising.
correct. So if there's bulletins or newsletters we needed to get out to the public or anything in that manner, we had a budget to do so, but it didn't end up here, so I don't know where this exact number came from.
So, I'm sorry, the amount requested was how much?
$45,000 in advertising,
Plus the
For
9,000,
the city
plus
council?
9,000 for travel.
correct.
So we basically brought the budget back to what it is for 2020 because the instructions to everybody was the bottom line had to remain the same or less than the 2020 budget.
And the only way to make that happen would have been to cut our salaries out.
Correct. Because that's basically all that's in your budget.
This is a proposal, so it wasn't proposed the way I presented it, so you guys made the cut before it was given to the council.
No, this is the mayor's budget. You submitted the
correct.
budget to the mayor.
Correct.
And then the mayor, this is the mayor's budget that we're submitting to the council.
Correct. So the mayor made the
Because we
cut.
have to balance this before we present it to the council.
Any questions from the finance committee?
Yeah, if I may. Council President Fitzpatrick, how much money do you think that we're looking at? And it's got 24,000, in total, 4,500 in transportation and communication. So for education, wouldn't it have to create another line item? And would we go around the same process? Because we can't add money to it. We can only,
It seems like we'd have to be at our own cost.
all right. And my other question is this. If our budget for last year was 129,681, if I may, on line 411013, and then for 2021, we're budgeting $136,015.
The 27th pay.
Well, I personally, my salary was set. I'm not looking for 27 pay periods, okay? I don't care how people want to cut it. That's a pay increase, and I personally think that our budget should stay as it was and is. And I got a problem with that.
Yeah. And I did a little research about this, and I know unions, the fire unions and the police unions and that, they actually work this 27th pay into, what they're doing this year. And I don't know if it would be a good thing to tell the rest of the city workers that they are not going to get that 27th pay when others are. So you're treating others, you're treating them differently, is what I'm saying. And it makes no sense to me as a finance person that we would have some workers getting a 27th pay and then others not. Is that what you're saying?
I am not saying that. I am saying that I don't want an increase in my salary for the next year, because my salary was based off a yearly salary if I had 28 pay periods in it, that it had to be divided up correctly on my pay. And I also will say this, that I think that a lot of administrative staff that's appointed should be under the same rule. And that's why I'm going to make a motion to amend this on having our salary set at what it is this year at 129,000 681 for 2021.
So just before you do that, you have put us totally out of compliance with the salary ordinance,
Why?
because the salary ordinance is bi-weekly, which
And
means
also-
you'll get your 27th pay.
And
So now
also
you-
city policy. There's a policy that says if there's 27 pays, the policy states that employees receive a biweekly pay. And in years where there are 27 pays, the employees will receive their biweekly pay 27 times.
Is that in reference to the policy that was just passed by Board of Works?
I believe they put that, yes, that it was put into policy.
Well, my point is this, I'm not an employee, I'm an elected official, and I accepted that position on that pay that it was at that point. So I don't think that if we need to, I think maybe we need to research if it covers elected and appointed officials.
Or we need to amend that ordinance to correct the language.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not an ordinance, it's a personnel policy.
Yeah, but the ordinance would supersede the personnel policy.
Okay.
I made a motion to keep, and you guys can figure it out in your accounting practices or how you gotta do it, but I think that, in the technology world that we're in, that you can figure out how to pay us. So I'm still sticking to my motion of, sticking with our 129,681 for 2021 for the council members.
Do we have a second? Hearing no second, motion fails. Are there any other questions from the Finance Committee members?
And Mr. President, just with the amount for communication, transportation, and travel expense, is that supposed to be divvied up 9 ways? Okay, so every councilman, once his $500 is used up. Okay. Because, with the $45,000 that was originally offered up, the $9,000 for travel, correct? And the $45,000 for publications. We're not, I'm just going to say, we're not state representatives, we're not congressmen, nothing like that. And I don't know how I can ever justify, $45,000 for me to sit there and put a flyer together and send it across Michigan City. I'd rather use that money to possibly give the seasonal workers a 10 cents an hour raise and worrying about Don Perbolensky having his picture and name flashed across Michigan City on a laminated mailing. I don't know. I don't see the need for that.
That wasn't the...
Pardon?
I'm just saying, that wasn't the motive behind that. I wasn't trying to give us like free advertising. There's been times where there have been street closures or other incidents in the Fourth Ward where I just came out of my pocket and printed up flyers and went door to door with them and didn't even worry about sending them through the city. So every council person may not be in a position to do that. So if there's vital information that needs to get out to our constituents, something should be in place, I believe, to communicate with them. It's their money that we're using. So if we're using it to correspond with them, I didn't see a problem with that.
Okay. I just think it's too much money to what we want to do with that.
But it's zero because it wasn't even entered. So.
But I mean, what would have to happen is
Okay. Thank you.
it would have to go into the budget and something else would have to be decreased in order to meet the mayor's presented budget. So, do we have a motion to approve the council budget as presented? I make the motion. Need a second? Hearing no second.
I'll second.
Oh.
Yeah.
Seconded by Councilwoman
Thank
Tillman.
you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
That concludes the first session. We'll be bringing up the fire department here. Give us a 5-minute break. Then get right back into this. Tab 4, page 29. Okay, let's get started on the last session for tonight, the fire department budget. As usual, we will start. Oh, I'm sorry. Page 29, tab 4. Sorry, page 29 on tab 4. Looks like everybody's there, so like usual, open up with questions from the Finance Committee. Let's go, we'll stay on page 29, and if there's questions there, then we'll move on, so we all stay together. Yes, Councilman.
I'd like to ask how, the positions that are on page 29, tab 4, how come, how many captains and assistant chiefs do you have?
Councilman Przybylski, it's under number of units. So if you look at the positions.
Oh, is that how you're doing it?
Yep, so it's got
Okay.
like 3 assistant chiefs, 10 captains, a chief, a deputy chief, a driver, 23 driver operators. So that's how, and the ones listed by hours are their support staff that are not the firefighters.
Okay. So my additional question is this, are the, could you tell me who you guys consider, administrators that fall under the, policy book of the city? Do the, chief?
Would be the chief,
Yes.
deputy chief, officer,
The
Fire
training
marshal.
officer?
yes, sir, fire marshal, public information officer, administrative staff.
And the public information officer. Okay. So, with that being said, then, how many weeks vacation, are these people entitled to with their seniority? I know that's, that adds to the budget, but since they fall under that administrative guideline, they don't fall under the union contract, correct?
That is not correct, we still,
That's
the members
not?
of the administration are,
What's that?
that's right, we still follow as far as vacation.
You follow the contract on all these positions?
That's correct. All the administration follow the union contract. Vacation is figured by the years of service they have with the department.
Is that better?
And,
How about now? Better?
okay. So does that mean that, for every one day that you get 3 days?
For every 24-hour shift, we would get 3 days, because all vacation time is based off of 24-hour shifts.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
For the administrative assistant, one that's part-time, and the executive assistant, is this all within the same office, or is the administrative assistant one for the captains or the lieutenants, or how is that broke down? Or who do they assist?
Well, I'm the executive assistant, and the part-time lady, we're all under the same office. We're together. So we all work out of the same administrative office, like Michigan Boulevard. So we pretty much answer to the chief, but we help everybody.
And for the public information officer, is that full-time or part?
That would be a full-time firefighter that is working up in the administration.
If you probably need to tell her how they're being paid, because it only says $1,000.
Per our contract, the public information officer, his or her, we have females as well, their rate of pay is they get paid their merited position rate of pay. Currently, the DEIO that we have now is a merited driver. So he gets his driver's pay, so the line item you see with the $1,000 was negotiated several years ago that he gets an additional $1,000 for being up in the office doing the public work.
And that's the specialist, the $1,000?
No, that's under the PIO, the public information officer.
Oh, okay.
So it's his base pay plus $1,000 on top.
And what is the specialist? Because I know I was looking through the job description and it wasn't listed.
We currently have 4 specialists on duty. We have a building specialist, a mechanical specialist, and then 2 additional specialists. They take care of maintenance around the stations, and then they also help to take care of minor repairs on equipment, fire apparatus.
And that is an actual firefighter?
It is actual,
Full-time.
it can be a firefighter or a driver operator. They're on shift.
And we have 4 buildings, 4 fire stations. We have the administration office, and then we have the training tower. There's 6 buildings.
I'm just curious. As far as utilizing one of the fire trucks when the firemen make their grocery runs and things of that nature, is there a reason why you're using the big trucks opposed to using one of the EMS, the smaller truck vehicles?
Currently, we have vehicles at every station that they generally do not utilize taking the fire engine itself to the store. They take the vehicles that have been supplied.
I'm sorry, they take what?
We have support vehicles, a few support vehicles, they take that to the store. So
When you say support vehicles,
we
a
have
car, a van?
we have a car and a couple of SUVs that they, and then a pickup truck.
So how often or how frequent do they actually use the fire trucks when they make their station runs for food?
Generally, they don't use the fire engines. They use the vehicles
I'm just saying this, I beg to differ because they're always at Myers.
That could be for a call.
No, I was store detective at a certified store detective, and they were always there picking up food, purchasing.
If they would have,
In the fire truck.
if there was a fire truck at the store to get food for the day, that would be when we were down to minimum manning, where there was only
Okay.
3 firefighters on a piece of
And
apparatus.
And I'm
And it's-
asking just as far as conserving, as far as gas, why take the big, large vehicles out if you can?
Well, the big truck is at one of the stations. So if that's the
Okay.
only one that they have at this station, that one's the one that's got to go. And like you said, if they're at minimum manning, it has to go. However, normally there is a pickup truck, each station has a vehicle that runs to the.
Thank you.
Open it up to other council members on page 29 if you have any questions. All right, moving on page 30.
Hold on. Mr. President, question. As far as clothing allowance goes, in 2019, it was 37,000. This year, we've only paid out, excuse me, 20,000 so far. Projected 42,000, and next year it's projected at 40,000. So how much a year is this automatically money that's dispersed to each firefighter for clothing allowance? Is it $500, $300? I know it's in the contract, correct?
The clothing allowance is in the contract and it's paid semi-annually.
Pardon?
It's paid semi-annually, they get paid twice a year.
Okay.
So that's why you only see approximately half of it.
And how much is that? Do you remember?
I believe it's $500
All right.
per firefighter.
Okay.
9/11.
Question about the vehicles. I don't know if vehicles are on here or not yet, but I'm talking about the trucks, fire truck. All right? Because I know it was 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago when I was called down to the Ohio Street Station, and the pumper truck that was there, you know, the chief is showing me, you got to look underneath here because the frame is busted. And that frame just didn't bust that day. That frame had been working its way to rust through probably for a number of months, but nobody came about to report it, or somebody was doing a very poor job of inspecting that vehicle. What my concern is, and so that we don't get caught with this, another $650,000 gift that we got to give, that are all our fire trucks in good shape without frames rusting through? Do we know that for a fact? And if I looked at every fire truck tomorrow and had them lined up out here in the parking lot, everyone on the fire department could tell me that there's not a truck out there that has a bad frame on it and it's getting ready to snap. Thank you.
The fire engines that you are referencing to actually has recalls essentially on them because they were designed with bad frames. Engine 1 at the time, we currently have replaced that engine, so that engine is now engine 7 or engine 5. They're both sister trucks, but they were both frontline engines, and they did have bad frames. And there was a class action lawsuit, and we have gotten quotes to get the frame itself replaced.
Is it under warranty that the city doesn't have to pay for these?
There would be a charge. They would not have to pay for the frame, but they have to pay for, the city would have to pay for labor, and if there's any incidentals, nuts and bolts that break off, stuff that just would have to be
Okay, has our
replaced.
city attorney looked at that
He has been looked
warranty
at it.
and looked at it to make sure that maybe we don't have to pay for it?
It's, from our understanding, we would have to pay for the labor cost and whatever incidentals that may occur. The rough quote on those to replace those is roughly $30,000 without they tear the entire truck apart. They completely
Right.
take it apart. At that point, depending on what and if anything else were damaged or need replaced, of course, that would be an additional charge. Maybe seats, maybe seat belts, that sort of thing, handles and that. With COVID coming in and that kind of put a halt on everything, so we haven't had any contact and pushed forward with that because for obvious reasons.
Okay, so this truck you're talking about, engine number 1, is it operable?
It is operable,
I mean, under OSHA standards?
yes.
Okay. So
Yeah,
we're not
they're-
putting anybody in jeopardy. We're not putting the firefighters in jeopardy. We're not putting the public in jeopardy.
We're not currently
Okay.
putting anybody in
All right.
jeopardy at this time.
Okay. Any other engines? That's the only engine that we're having an issue with?
It would be we call it engine 5 and engine 7. Again, those two are they were bought at the same time. They're sister fire trucks. They both had the bad frames. Those are our spare engines in the event that our frontline engines, which would be engines 1 through 4, have some type of issue that they would have to go into central maintenance and or get shipped out to get worked on, then those engines would be put in service until the front line back from whatever repairs.
Okay, so 5 and 7 are backups?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that's the engine that you're referring to as far as,
Okay. But those need to go out and get repaired.
we would like for them to go out to get repaired, yes. It's an extensive process through the Pierce Manufacturing that worked out this class action settlement, and then pretty much essentially put it as simple as possible. They're essentially would give us the frame for free, but we would, the labor cost, get it put back together. But we're not the only department around that has it. You're talking, it's almost a year out, be able to get into the queue is what they call it, to get set up, to be able to get it checked out.
Okay, so this engine 5 and 7 are backup engines right now.
Correct.
So then if the engines that they replace, if the 5 and 7 go into service, they're still okay for the driver, for the fireman to operate?
Yes, they're still okay to put in service
Okay.
for the fire department.
You know, because I don't want to wait until these things, we get down to having no trucks, and there's an issue. Or we got to go out and buy another $650,000 pumper truck like we had to do 2 years ago on a spur of the moment, because, people jumping all over the county or jumping all over the city council for spending riverboat money. But when you have a fire engine that the frame is busted, and that fire engine has to go into service, to protect the public, that's where some of this money goes, okay? And, just want to make sure that we're on top of it and we don't have a busted frame.
We don't have a busted
Right.
frame. Everything just went through and passed UL
Okay?
just a
Thank you,
couple months
Chief.
ago, so
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions on page 29?
Yeah, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Jen, we just got done talking about office supplies, with the, Yvonne. So how do you get your office supplies? I'm
Next
just trying
page.
because we're going to get this under control and try to get it cheaper. Go ahead.
I was ordering through Quill, and now I am going through Pulse, which is the old Kramer and Leonard. There's some drawbacks for both. Quill is a little bit more expensive, but I can get the office supplies the very next day. Pulse is cheaper, but their delivery time, you've got to plan ahead you need something,
Okay.
you're waiting.
All right.
So it's a 50-50 shot. We have one printer in our office, so we do not have multiple printers. It's a color printer. We do not use a lot of color ink. So, but when you have 5 people using one printer, you go through. You can do that. You can go through ink. I don't want to say quickly, but so I'd say our office supplies are probably, we probably use our budget up on probably ink and paper,
Okay.
because all of our faxes as well come through our computers. We don't have a fax machine. It comes through that. So of course, the faxes that we get in, we're printing out that our printer is our hot ticket in our office.
Okay. All right, thanks for that explanation. My whole point is, the 3,600, you know, in the whole big scheme of things isn't a lot of money. When you start adding up every department in the city, it may wind up to be like 40 grand, and if we can save 5,000 off of that, we can take that 5,000 and maybe buy more, you know, supplies for the fire department or the police department. You guys know what I'm talking. So that's why I'm asking that question, because it's starting here tonight. We're gonna do a inspection through the whole city as far as where we're buying these office supplies and try to get a better price. Thank you. I'm done.
Yep, so now we moved the office supplies, went into page 30, so we're on page 30 now. And just a quick explanation or just experience of dealing with office supplies and school systems where I've been and other places. But sometimes it is good to have more than one vendor because it creates competition, to go out and shop for office supplies as well, rather than everybody going from one vendor. I have seen it work both ways, where it can happen both ways, but I know I've always seen it where you have a couple of vendors out there with competition, and a lot of times you get better prices as well. So that could work either way. All right, page 30. I'll open up once again to the Finance Committee. Councilman Paul Przewalski.
Looking at the maintenance equipment repairs, 436-020, 27,000 appropriated for 2021. What kind of, does this fall under equipment, or does this fall under the buildings, or your engines, or how would you classify this?
This is equipment that is on the truck. So it would be anything that would need to be fixed that is out there on any truck that we have. Correct. So that's our contractual services. So what we did is we don't have all of our contractual services paid for 2020. These are the things that we have, you know, as you can see there, 5-alarm, mask airflow test, you know, approved safety, which is our hood test. Emergency reporting system. This is our program that we use for 911. These are all stuff that we have to operate on a daily basis. We went in and we got rid of a lot of our contractual service. We cut it by like 20,000. We cut it down from 80,000 to 67,000 because we said we don't need this stuff. We got rid of True Green. We got rid of, give me, I can't think off the top of my head.
We just started off at the first of the year trying to reduce and cut back on contractual services that we felt we could handle in-house instead of contracting it out, which that's where you see the decrease from 80,000 down to the 67,000. What we left in here is what is
we absolutely
necessary.
Yeah, we have to have. So the 47,000 is just, that's what we've spent so far to date, but we still have a lot that comes in October, November. Like our sprinkler system checks come in the end of October. There's a lot that still comes in at the end of the year that we will use up that difference.
Well, okay. Well, the reasons I asked that is because the questions that is a follow-up with Councilman Don Przewalski asked about these engines, and you know, this has been hanging out there for a while, so I don't understand. Are you guys budgeting money somewhere else to cover these engines? Because I'm not gonna mess around, as I've been hearing this for, before I got elected,
If I-
about these, excuse me, let me finish,
Sorry.
is that the frames on these engines are substandard. Just about being doing mechanical work is that the box would have to be taken off, the cab would have to be taken off, and it's a lot of man hours involved. And I think that you guys said it was an open-end bid, and I just wonder, I really wonder if these trucks were having a problem, why didn't the city partake in that class action suit? And are these other cities getting freebies instead of just, saying, well, or was it just that this was a settlement out of the court that it was just, we'll take care of the substandard frames, but you guys are left to handle the rest of the money? And so if you guys are sitting there shaking your heads, so my point is this: I would not allocate money to repair those engines. I would look at having something replaced sooner than later. Don't we have a fund? Don't we have a fund for equipment at the fire department? Excuse me, gentlemen. Do we?
Yeah, they have the CCD fund.
The CCD fund? Okay.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
my point is this, is that you need the equipment, then we need to look at getting the equipment. We need to quit sidestepping the issue. Okay, that's...
We're off the budget. We're talking about class action lawsuits, and we're off the budget.
It is about equipment, it's about the equipment and the cost of the equipment.
Are you making
All right,
a motion
thank you.
to cut?
No, I'm not making a motion to cut, but I can't add. But I'm making my comments known to the general public and to the administration that we need to quit sidestepping this issue. Thank you.
But since the question was out, would you guys like to address or no?
Thank you, Chief. Councilman Prespolinski, I can tell you with 100% certainty that under Chief Krivak's tenure, we did our research. We started calling, the class action lawsuit was filed prior to us taking over the office. Since then, we've called all 5 departments that were involved in that class action lawsuit. All 5 of them are from Illinois. Champaign, Illinois, because of the verdict or the legalities, they could not talk on what resolution they came to. However, they forwarded on their legal counsel's information. We forwarded that on to Attorney LePage. She looked into it. I'm pleased to say, again, under Chief Krivak's tenure, that those 2 frames are being replaced at the cost that is going to be eaten up by McQueen Emergency, which is a subsidiary of Pierce Manufacturing. The caveat to that, or the asterisk to that, Councilman, is that there will be some cost incurred into that vehicle, but what that will entail is they take it completely, strip it completely down, recode everything, put new bolts on there, put all new hardware on there. So essentially, we're getting the frame for free, but we're getting 2 engines rebuilt from bottom to top. We have talked with Director Harris, Cranston Harris, and he, when he saw the paperwork, he was overly elated by what he saw, because essentially we'll be getting 2 newer engines or rebuilt engines for a very low cost. So if we're doing risks versus analysis on this budget and we're being transparent with each other, it doesn't behoove us to go looking for a new vehicle when we're going to get two of them for the price of one, essentially. So we've done our due diligence, and like I said, under his tenure, that's how that's happened. That's where that transpired.
Any other questions? Page 30, Finance Committee. Yes, Councilman.
With that being said, I did not, so let's clear the air, infer anything about the chief. If anything, it's previous administrations that I'm a little perturbed about, okay? And this being said, how much? You know, you just said we're getting 2 engines for the price of one. So how much is the price of one engine at that caliber? Because we're not getting 2 new engines. Because the engines are used, you know, they're going to put the same tires on them. They're going to use the same pumps and all the same hardware. You might get new brake lines and stuff like that. But knowing the company, they're going to strip everything off of there that they can use and put back on the air brakes and all of that stuff. I wouldn't even put it past them that they'll use the front axle, the back axle, and everything. And, you know, so how much does one of them engines cost? Or how much did they cost then?
The actual cost of the engine, those engines, I believe, in their day was roughly about $400,000.
Okay, so.
Those are both 2000.
It's gonna cost, you know, so. That's all I want to bring up is we're not getting nothing for nothing.
No, but again,
You know,
like I
it's
stated.
not like $30,000. It's a huge amount of money. And my aspect is this, so that I'm transparent. I would rather buy one new, and not from Pierce. And, you know, I think that's what we need to talk about at some point. I really do, because you got that fund, and, you know, fire equipment is important. That truck is important to the guys who are on that truck. That's their second, I'd say that's, well, let's see, the fire station's second home. That's their third home.
Yep.
And that's,
Any other questions? Finance Committee, page 30.
thank you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. If none, we will move into the other council members if you have questions. And I'll circle back around. I have a couple.
There's a lot of minutes.
Put it over there, Mr. President. Good, okay. Don? Nothing? I was looking into like 436010 and 436020 in these different accounts, and also, you know, inclusive in accounts 423021 and 423031. And I'm just pointing out, I see these expenses have been $30,000, $37,000 a year, and I'm just looking at some of these down here. So the budgets have been spent, is what I'm saying. And I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but not like accusing, being accusatory or anything like that. So I really don't want to put this out here because I don't want to be accusatory, but I'm just trying to figure out in terms of cuts, and obviously the city looking for money. These repairs, like I said, they've been up to the budget every single time, and I'm just wondering, can we survive any cuts at this time? What do you feel about that? Is how I want to put that question.
Thank you, Councilman. If we can kind of go back to what Councilwoman Tillman asked about the specialist and about where we're at with it, it's all inclusive, because if you look at, I believe you threw a lot of numbers out, so excuse me. For the first one, if we're looking at the repairs and maintenance, so it's 436.010020 were those two that you referenced. In all actuality, and I believe the mayor and controller will correct me if I'm wrong, but we have seen a reduction in 10% across the board, correct? And what we can't ascertain at this point is what repairs we're going to come across in 2021. I can tell you again with 100% certainty under the chief's tenure, utilizing our specialist, we have now instituted a monthly inspection on all vehicles where they go in to see Director Harris also and do a head to toe. We take it out of service. Our specialist, along with his mechanics, go over everything. That hasn't been done in years. So we're trying to prevent things. But to answer your question, unfortunately, I don't see where we can give back. We've reduced the contractual services by almost 20%, up to 20%. We've seen a reduction across the board of 10%. And in all honesty, right now we have outstanding repairs that need to be made on the stations and on the engine, on the apparatus, that if we don't do this year or in very close future, it's going to create more monetary attachments to it. We've had water leaks in Station 1 and 4 because of the roof problems. And again, we understand where we're at as far as finances go in the city. The mayor said it best. We unfortunately didn't create this. It was given to us. It's been put in our laps, and we're doing what we can with what we have. But to answer your question, I can't see where we can turn back in another cent and operate to our capacity.
And your answer probably cleared up the way I should have asked the question. What do you foresee happening where you would spend those funds? So kind of a forecast of what you're going to use those funds for. Do you have anything in mind? So you've answered that question. You're fine. Thank you. Any other council members? Oh, yes, Councilman Paul Prespolinski.
Thank you. I wanted to know, because of what Chairman Dadme brought up about where you're going to spend the money. If I'm recalling correctly, that we allocated money last year out of that CCD, was it CCD fund, Yvonne? Is the fund, is it called CCD? Okay.
Cumulative capital development.
All right. Did we allocate $200,000 out of there last year for the fire department for equipment and repairs? And I remember meeting the previous chief at one of those stations talking about the roof, and now you're talking about it again. And what did they do with did they give the money back?
Right. Yeah, there is money in the CCD fund to repair the 2 roofs that are leaking. We're just not doing all 4 buildings because I needed to, that budget is one of the ones that is under your deobligation ordinance that precedes this budget on your council agendas. Because they're still not going to receive enough tax dollars this year to cover the amount of expenses that were budgeted into 2020. But we did leave enough money in there. They can repair the 2 roofs that are leaking. And they've got other money in there for some of the other things that they absolutely must have this year.
What I'm getting at is, what the heck happened when we allocated that money last year with the previous administration? They didn't take no action?
Well, the transfer that I asked you for at the beginning of the year left them with $680 some in that fund.
No, this was, we allocated money last fall to do some repairs out there, and I think it was in the neighborhood of like $200,000.
Oh, that I don't know anything
Okay.
about.
All right, well,
Right, I'm not sure about last year. I know we bought the fire truck, which depleted all of the funds in the CCD
Okay.
last year.
all right. Okay. All right. And that does answer somewhat. Well, I gotta find out what happened here. Because I hate to see, us talking about it again, because I distinctly remember that, because Chief Novak was talking about putting sheet metal up on the Station 4, the airport. What is it? I don't know. What is it? 3? And I met him out there, and I was like, going, are you sure you want to do that? But anyway, it was, I know it was going on. Thank you.
Okay, hearing no other questions on page 30. Page 31 is just a continuation of contractual services. Go ahead and take a peek if anybody want to ask any questions on the Finance Committee regarding contractual services on page 31. If there are no questions from the Finance Committee, I will open it up to other council members. Okay. I'll give you a second. Take a look. Just throw your hand up when you're ready, Paul. I see you looking it over. And I see you looking it over. And okay. All right, that concludes us getting through the fire department budget. Do we have a motion to approve the fire department budget as presented?
I move to adopt.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, that concludes business for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow